What are the steps of buying a house? We're going to go through the step-by-step process. I have 12 distinct steps that I think are really important, so stay with me. Hi, I'm Lynda Hafner, top producing realtor at ERA Key Realty in Central Massachusetts. Today we're talking about the step-by-step process when you're buying a home, especially in Massachusetts. Now, in other states it may vary a little bit, but be similar. But this is specifically for Massachusetts, how we do it from before you even start house hunting until you get the keys at closing. Make sure you watch this video to the end because there are some important steps that you're really going to need to know if you want to make it to closing. Right now, we are heading into the fourth quarter of 2022. We have higher prices and interest rates are almost at 7% with no relief in sight. So the very first thing you want to do before anything else is to evaluate the affordability. What can you financially afford? How much money are you making? How much money do you have in the bank for things like closing costs, down deposit, an emergency fund? Do you have that all in place already? If not, start working on that and don't even go any further. But if you have been working at it for a while, figure out what you have for student loans, daycare providers, whatever your personal bills are, and figure out what the max you are comfortable paying. Do this before you talk to a lender because a lender's number is going to be different than your number as far as affordability goes. Once you've figured out your affordability, you want to talk to a realtor. Choose an experienced local realtor in your area that has very good reviews online. Look for their digital footprint online. That means they've been in the business a while and they've been established. Read their reviews, do some digging, and most importantly, make sure that you like the person you choose to be your realtor. You're going to be working with this person for months. You don't want to pick someone who you do not vibe with. Very important. And a lot of people overlook that. Once you choose a realtor, you want to go to them for any suggestions as far as lenders go. Generally speaking, most realtors are going to suggest local lenders. And the reason for that is because you're going to get a lot more possibility of closing on time because you won't be just a number. You won't be just like one of the many. Local lenders pay more attention to you and get your stuff done quicker. And that's what you want. Best idea is to try talking to a couple of different lenders, seeing what different programs they have. Do yourself a favor and don't only explore 30-year fixed rates. Look into if there are any adjustable programs, if there are any home buying programs that can help you get into a house based on the circumstances that we're in right now, because things are a little tough with affordability. Just choose the right one for you. Big part of getting a pre-approval is getting the paperwork, and that can be tricky. You need 2 years of tax returns, 2 years of W-2s, 2 months of pay stubs from your employer, 2 months bank statements, any bills you have. It's a lot of paperwork that you have to provide with them. And you also have to give them the authority to check your credit and make sure your credit is good. The better your credit, the lower the interest rate you're going to qualify for. So that's very important as well. Once you have that written pre-approval, you're ready to submit an offer if you find the house that you love. So now it's time to go house hunting. But before you do that, there's one more step I'm going to suggest. Make a list, a realistic list of what your wants are and what your needs are. And I'm telling you this because if you're a first-time home buyer, there's going to be a lot more wants that you may not be able to get in the very first house you buy. If you've had another house that you've already purchased and this is more of a second house, you may have a better chance if you have that home equity to carry with you. But I want you to be very, very specific with what you absolutely have to have and what is you'd like to have, but you don't have to have, because the availability of houses is still on the low side, and we need to take all of this into consideration when we're looking at houses and looking at the pros and cons of each house, because each house is completely different, especially in Massachusetts. We do not have cookie cutter houses here. We have very unique style homes, much different than the rest of the country. So we've covered 4 steps. The 5th step is to actually do the house hunting. Your realtor should be setting you up to receive automatic listings of any house that meets the criteria of homes that you could be interested in. And then you start scheduling appointments and through process of elimination, pick which home works best for you. And that may take one showing or it may take 20. You really never know. The sixth step would be that you find the house you want, you put in the offer, you have your agent negotiate the best deal possible for you based on the home's location, condition, and how it's priced in relation to the other houses in that area. When you put in your offer, you want to make sure that you're aware of what dates you put in for purchase and sale agreement, for closing. Make sure the closing date works for you. Typically, it's 45 days after the initial offer is put in and accepted. So keep that timeline in your head and make sure that that's going to work with you, that you don't have any vacations planned or anything like out of the ordinary like that. Step 7, once your offer is accepted, it is time to send the initial deposit. There's going to be one more deposit. In Massachusetts, we do a first and a second deposit. The first one is with the offer and the second one comes 2 weeks later when you do the purchase and sale agreement. You have 10 days from getting your offer accepted to do the home inspection. At that time, you decide whether you want to do a radon test, a mold test, a water test, if it's a well, all the different variety of tests that are add-ons to the typical home inspection should be reviewed with your realtor as to whether or not you want to do that. There is an extra expense involved, so that may factor into your decision. You attend the home inspection with the home inspector, your realtor, you, your partner, and whoever else really that you feel is important to be there to view the home. It's also a good opportunity for you if you want to let someone else pop in and see the home, because you can't always freely go to the home whenever you want. The main purpose of the home inspection is to make sure there are no safety concerns or significant financial issues that are going to cost you a lot more money than you anticipated with the offer price that you put in. It's your opportunity to evaluate all that. You go to the home inspection, you receive a report, you have an opportunity to review all that, discuss it with your agent, and find out if you need to renegotiate any of the terms that were in the offer. If it does need to be renegotiated, sometimes it takes a few extra days. If not, you go straight to the purchase and sale agreement. So that leads us to the 8th step, the purchase and sale agreement. In Massachusetts, the home seller's attorney draws up the initial purchase and sale agreement, sends it over to the home buyer's attorney. The two of them review all of the changes that may have occurred since the home inspection. They both make sure they're protecting each of their clients. Once that's all set to go, they have that signed. Either the agent set it up electronically, or sometimes you can go and review it directly with your attorney. In Massachusetts, with my clients, I usually get the okay from the attorneys and set it up digitally, and I send it to them by email to sign. The 9th step, the appraisal, is not ordered until the purchase and sale agreement is signed. Once that's signed, the appraisal's ordered, and then the appraisal can take a week, 2 weeks. It really depends on how many appraisals there are going on right now, how busy the market is. A lot of different things vary as to how long it's going to take before we get that appraisal back. And we can't process and complete the loan and get to closing without that appraisal. The appraisal is ordered by the bank. The list agent usually meets the appraiser at the home, and they go through the house and evaluate and make sure that the offer price and the appraised price by the bank is the same. If it's not, it's going to need to be renegotiated. The bank will not give the buyer any more money than what is on that appraisal report. Most often it is the seller that does have to come down to meet that price, unless there is wording in the offer otherwise, but this is generally how it works in Massachusetts. Once the appraisal is done, the next step as a home buyer is really just to stay in constant communication with your bank, and the minute they ask you for paperwork, you get it to them, because any delay in them receiving paperwork could potentially delay your closing date. And if you've already scheduled movers for your closing date that require sometimes a non-refundable deposit, you may not get that back if the closing date is moved. So these are reasons, and these are things that can actually cause a little bit of stress to the entire process. So just be aware of these things now. Make sure all that paperwork is done, and really that's all you're doing between the appraisal and closing is just getting that paperwork to them, and then they do their underwriting process and make sure that all of the numbers work. If all goes according to plan, within a week of closing, you should hear from your lender that you have clear to close. That is the magic words that we wait for, because when you have clear to close, that means closing can happen. And a lot of times, I'm just going to tell you from my own experience, that there are a lot of little last minute documents that aren't sufficient enough, or this is incorrect or that is incorrect, and it can get scary because you feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't get that in time, I'm not going to close. And it does happen. A good 30% of the time, 40% of the time, that closings do not happen exactly on time. So also leave a little bit of wiggle room in there for yourself with that knowledge, because that is part of the home buying process. You cannot trust the dates verbatim. They change a lot. Be aware of that. Clear to close are magic words. And then you set up your final walkthrough through the new home that you're buying, and you make sure that the last home seller did not leave any of their personal belongings that would cost you money to get rid of or inconvenience you in having to get rid of. So you want to make sure that if they're planning on leaving anything like paint supplies or whatever, that they checked out with you before the final walkthrough. That's all agreed upon, and then you can close. Final step is closing. I hope you'll stay tuned for my next video. I'm going to talk about how much house you can afford in 2022. Let's break it down and make it a little easier for you to understand. Don't forget to check out my home buying checklist below in the description. If you are on TikTok or Facebook, please check me out there. I'd love to connect with you. It would be great to talk to you. Have a great day.